Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Maulana Muhammadin wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we are discussing Contemplating the Quran in this Ramadan series, and this is a book by Sheikh Ahmad Saad Al-Azhari. Alhamdulillah, we are looking at the themes, the underlying ideas in the 30 juz. We have studied up to juz number 7 in the Sheikh's book. Inshallah, we will study now in this program part number 8 or juz number 8, which consists of chapters of Al-Anam and Al-Araf. And the theme that the Sheikh has garnered in this juz is the devil and his agents. So this is the underlying theme of this juz, the devil and his agents. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the Sheikh begins by saying the greatest mission of the messengers was to warn against the schemes of Satan and protect man from falling into his snares. This is the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the enemy of mankind. So the prophets, the messengers came to warn us against him, against shaitan. The messengers have taught us to seek sanctuary with God in every matter, asking refuge in him from the devil and protection from his ways and enticements. Everything that we look for, in every step of our lives, the one who protects us, the one who guides us is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ultimately. And that is what the messengers were pointing us towards. The Quran spares no effort in warning man about the connivances of the devil. Most of this part sheds light on a number of these and reveals some of the means by which Satan seeks to distance man from his original purpose to worship Allah, the one alone. So, as we said, the theme of this chapter or this juz is the devil and his agents, and now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us the ways in which Satan tries to come in between us and our Lord to prevent us from our purpose of worshipping Allah. So the Sheikh says, number 1, the part begins with mention of the strenuous efforts which the devils among jinn and men exert in enmity to God's prophets and messengers, and their bedizening of speech in order to misguide man from the truth, before emphasizing that God is perfectly capable of preventing them from doing so and negating their evil. So this is in reference to verse number 112, chapter number 6. And as an introduction to the theme, we are told about the efforts that Satan undertakes in trying to misguide man from the truth, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfectly capable of negating this evil, of negating their malicious intent. However, He leaves them to it because of a profound wisdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets them do what they want to do because of profound wisdom, to manifest that which is in the hearts of those who disbelieve in the hereafter, so that their actual states can come out. The reality which they are harboring within them can come out, so that they can be exposed. Such people are satiated by the illusory life of this world. They turn their full attention to it, turning away from the clear revelation that was sent down as truth. The people who are the devil's advocate, so to speak, are taken in or have made this world their purpose. And in doing so, they have turned away from the truth, from the revelation that was sent down upon them. They marshal its resources to commit all manner of crimes and obscenities to bring pleasure to their degraded souls. So they use the world and its resources in order to fulfill their desires and to seek pleasure. And in doing so, such individuals who are the devil's advocate or who have taken the path of the devil are actually degrading their own souls. Number 2, the verses continue to relate the account of a particular group of humans allied to Satan, who were among the worst corrupters and perpetrators of harm to early tribes and cities. And this is in verse number 123, chapter number 6. The Quran informs us that it was their arrogance and satanic nature that led them to throw in their lot with the misguided misguiding jinn. It is then clarified that such relationships, which are built upon deriving selfish pleasure and mutual benefit, will see their supposed advantages come to naught. So there were people, humans, who allied themselves to shaitan, and who are then who are arrogant, and their satanic nature was such that it misguided them. Now, we are told that such relationships are fickle and they come to nothing. Eventually, they will finish off, they will taper off, they will self-destruct. When they find themselves in hellfire, they will admit that the relationship did not benefit them at all in reality, and they will eternally regret not lending their ear to the one who called them to the truth and rectitude. And this is in verse 126 or 128, chapter number 6. So, what the fruit of their aligning themselves with Satan is something that they will see in the hereafter when they are consigned to the hellfire. And then what is left for such people is mere regret that they listened to Satan instead of listening to the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as brought by his messengers, which would lead to truth and which would lead to moral uprightness. Number 3, again looking at Satan and his allies and his agents. Thereafter, we are clearly informed that these devils do not lead their compatriots to goodness, but rather make what is hideous seem beautiful to them. Now, this is their modus operandi. This is the way in which they carry out their mission. They make something which is bad, something which is hideous, something which is obnoxious to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They make it look good, they make it look alluring, they make it look something that should be strived for. As such, do they encourage them, for example, to kill their own children? And this is in verse 137, chapter number 6. It goes to an extent that they even make killing of your own children look something which is appealing, something which is pleasing, and make benefit from their own wealth and livestock taboo for them. Verse number 138, chapter number 6. Those who give heed to them thus do not benefit from this companionship in this world, nor are they a means for their salvation in the hereafter. Basically, what we are being told is that aligning yourself to shaitan and to his compatriots is something that is a sure way for destruction and devastation for us. In this world, this companionship will lead to destruction, and also it's a means of keeping them away from salvation in the hereafter. Hence, we are warned against following in the footsteps of devils or seeking out their ways. For in that way, imitating the worst of the wrongdoers, lies clear destruction and self-severance from the mercy of the Lord of the worlds. Once you follow these uncouth devils, you are going to be bereft from the mercy of the world. And one of the biggest losses in this world and in the hereafter is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not look at you with the eye of mercy. It is further clarified that the methods of the devil through which he ensnares his allies and followers are weak indeed. He captures them with false assumptions and flagrant distortion, void of all knowledge and certainty. Verse number 148, chapter number 6. The irony here is that although people follow the devil and although they align themselves with the devil, if you take a closer look, if you take a deeper look and try to understand what lies beneath, we see that his machinations, the way he operates, is based actually on weakness. If a person actually thinks about this or reflects upon it, Satan doesn't come from a position of strength. He comes from a position of weakness, yet we are so vulnerable that we are easily taken in by his distortions. And because his distortions are also, they are not based on any knowledge and they are not based on any certainty. And the Shaykh tells us, unfortunately, souls caught up in the web of such deceitful premises and who are content with such deviations as their way will find that manifest falsehood appears to them in the essence of truth. Here is the tragedy of the whole scenario. when you decide to give up your life to Satan instead of following the truth, instead of following the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and instead of following the message that is brought about by his messengers, when you give yourself up to Satan, one of the things, one of the consequences of that is that even falsehood appears as truth to you. So this is the tragedy, really, because it's utter destruction for mankind who follows such a path, to be not able to distinguish between falsehood and truth. This is what Satan leads you towards. Number 4, discussing the devil and his allies. The consequences of adhering to the truth and acceding to the herald of the All-Merciful are equally clearly explicated in terms of how they rectify the affairs of individuals and communities. As a contrast, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is then showing us that when you align yourself, that when you cling to Him, to the All-Merciful, then also the truth and the rectification of the affairs of individuals comes to light, and it helps in the flourishing of the communities. For through the truth, repugnant deeds are given wide berth, killing is prohibited, wealth is preserved, financial dealings become characterized by probity, and justice and fairness become widespread. When you align yourself to the truth, these are the beautiful virtues that come about. These are the things that make life then pleasurable, worth living, and of a higher grade than what we have around us. So we stay away then from things which lead to our perdition, things like killing, things like wealth being misappropriated, and financial dealings are characterized by honesty. This is the society that we should all aspire towards, and justice and fairness becomes widespread. This is the result of aligning ourselves to Allah instead of aligning ourselves to Satan. None of this is possible without faithfully treading the straight path and putting into practice the manifest divine guidance. Verses 151 to 155, chapter number 6. In order for us to gain or to enjoy the fruits of a healthy society, of wealth being preserved, of justice and fairness becoming widespread, we have to tread the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and put into practice what the guidance that has been brought to us by the messengers. Through all of this, good fellowship and unity are attained, and the life of man in all his variegated affairs, whether worship or spiritual exertion, suluk or dealings with one another, become a single journey towards the ultimate aim for which he was created, the good pleasure of the succoring Lord. So when we do all of that, when we put the divine guidance into practice, we have unity, we have good fellowship in our lives, and our worship and spiritual dealings, or our worship and spiritual exertions, as well as our dealings with one another. So not only on our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also our relationship with our fellow mankind becomes rectified, and it becomes a journey which facilitates for us to achieve the purpose for which we were created. And that is for the ultimate aim of knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This in turn comes through following the ways of Abraham, the Hanif, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the seal of the prophets. Verse 161, chapter number 6. So the ultimate way in which we can manifest this guidance in following it and in achieving a society that is based on justice, a society that is that has all good aspects connected to it. This can only be achieved when we follow the way of Abraham, who was the Hanif, and Muhammad, the seal of the prophets sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So following the examples or following the sunnahs of the Prophet is an absolute essential in safeguarding ourselves from the wiles of Satan. Then number 5, now begin the verses of the chapter of Al-Araf, which describe the story of the first devil and the first man, the Prophet Adam. They illustrate the consequences of lending one's ear to the devil and his followers, as well as the rewards of seeking refuge under the banner of truth and its people. So we have the story of Adam alayhi salam. What happens when you give your ear or when you listen to the whisperings, to the distortions of Satan? And what also, like we discussed, the beautiful balance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always provides us with, when you seek refuge under the banner of truth and its people, the happiness or the rectification that occurs then when you seek refuge with Allah. The verses deal with the details of that satanic enmity towards the father of mankind and accounts of his beguilement of this noble prophet. So the verses, the Shaykh tells us that the verses that follow talk at length about how Satan beguiled Adam alayhi salam. He faithlessly swore to the Prophet and his wife that he was a sincere, trusted advisor to them, when in fact he was accursed. And this is verses 11 to 21 in chapter number 7. So 11 to 21, a very comprehensive account is given of how Satan can go to extreme lengths in order to deviate mankind. And he did that with Adam alayhi salam by swearing to him falsely and faithlessly that he was sincere and he was sincere towards Adam and his wife Hawa, and that he was an advisor to them. But in reality, he was accursed and his aim was to lead them astray. So this is a warning for us, an implicit warning for us to be careful. As a result of their trusting him, they were prohibited that comfortable abode, falling prey to that trial, and were made to descend to the earthly plane as a test for them and their offspring. So, because they entrusted Satan and fell for his beguiling tricks, they were then removed from heaven, and they were made to descend to the earthly plane. And then this plane is the place for trials for us and for the progeny of Adam, that includes us as well. The verses give warning regarding this accursed devil and his progeny, explaining that he commands to nothing but obscenity and leads to nothing but evil and vice. The only thing that Satan can offer us, and this is told to us as a form of warning, is that he commands to nothing but that which is obscene and that which is evil and that which is wise. So he is committed and he is focused upon our utter destruction. That is what we are warned against. Number 6, conjoined to the discussion of this enmity are the fates of each group, as the verse that follow describe the accounts of the people of paradise and of hell. So what are the fates of the people of paradise, and what are the fates of the people of hell? Or the people who obey the commandments of Allah have the paradise, and the people who obey Satan are consigned to hell. The former will taste the delight of the rewards of their beautiful actions, whilst the latter will encounter the consequences of their misguidance, such that no regret will avail them, nor bartering or friendship protect them. So when you align yourself, when you become a follower of Satan, eventually, if you have not rectified your ways, if you have not sought refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unfortunately the ending will be in hellfire, and that will be a consequence, a direct consequence of your misguidance by Satan. And nothing at that time will then avail you, or nothing at that time will then be able to save you, whether you start bartering, whether you start asking, whether you start looking for a deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or whether you seek out those friends who are with you, who are a party to Satan. Nothing will protect you, nothing will give you salvation at such a time. And then finally, number 7, on this theme, the deducing theme of the devil and his agents in juz number 8, we are told that the Shaykh tells us, the part concludes with the accounts of those who obeyed the devils and made war on the messengers, relating the tales of the people of Noah, Ad, Thamud, and Madian by way of a prelude to the story of Moses and Pharaoh. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elucidates the stories of the people of Noah, Ad, Thamud, and Madian as a way of showing what happens when you link up or when you join up with Satan. That demonic man who was misled, in turn misled, waging war against God, taking hold of the necks of servants in transgression, and filling the land with corruption. So Pharaoh was somebody who was considered a demonic man, and the stories of Noah, Ad, Thamud, and Madian lead on to the story of Moses and Pharaoh. Pharaoh, as we know, was demonic. He was misled, and he in turn misled his people. He was actually at war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was filling the land with corruption. Inshallah, this is the conclusion of juz number 8. In our next part, we will look at juz number 9, part number 9, which still contains the chapters of Al-A'raf and Al-Anfal. And this is the next theme that we will be looking at. The duty of the Prophet is spiritual reformation. That is the theme of juz number 9. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us and gives us the tawfiq to carry on with this for the next episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.